The Summer League shock no one expected. For Celtics, who might change everything asterisk, while most fans were busy watching the highlight dunks and box scores, the real story of the Celtics' 4-1 Summer League run was quietly unfolding beneath the surface. Hidden in plain sight were 4 players whose performances might not just land them on a roster, but reshape Boston's long-term plans. These weren't just solid contributors. What happened in Vegas could force Brad Stevens to make some real decisions. First, let's talk about Amari Williams, the 46th pick, who looked like anything but a second. On paper, his 6.3 points and 5 boards don't raise eyebrows. But if you were watching closely, you saw something few rookie bigs show: this elite passing instincts. We're not talking about safe handoffs. Williams was reading defenses, like a guard, firing cross-court, skip passes, and threading needles to backdoor cutters. That's rare vision from a 6 feet 10 inches forward. The finishing still needs work, shooting just 44.5% from the floor without a three-point threat. But that's not what sets him apart. His playmaking from the post could unlock a whole new layer in Boston's bench units. And when you already have elite scorers, finding glue guys with feel becomes priceless. Now enter Charles Bassey, who didn't just play well, he owned the Summer League glass. In just 3 games, Bassey grabbed more offensive rebounds than entire teams. That's not hype, that's a stat. He dropped a monster 22 and 13 off the bench against the Knicks and instantly set Celtics Twitter on fire. If he had stayed through all 5 games, there's a good chance he would have been the MVP. But here's the twist: he left early due to a prior commitment. And yet, in that short window, he looked like Boston's most NBA-arity center outside of Przivsis. With Al Horford, aging and frontcourt depth looking thin, the Celtics could either ignore this giant red flag or lock in a solution sitting right under their nose. Then there's Kendall Brown, a player whose name barely made the pre-Vegas conversations, but may now have a backdoor to the NBA. He played every single game, averaging just 15 minutes, but made every second count. His stat line modest, his impact massive. Brown hit 69% from the floor and displayed vertical pop that made defenders flinch. He didn't shoot a lot of threes, but with more volume, that could come. What matters is that his athleticism and timing scream NBA. ChatGPT-D's George's Niang just said what no one dared to admit about his role in Boston: the booze came before the buzz. Before George's Niang even touched a basketball in green, he was already in the crosshairs of the most demanding fan base in the NBA. But instead of shying away, he just leaned into the fire and said out loud what thousands of Celtics fans have been whispering in. He didn't sugarcoat a word. "You took our unicorn and replaced him with a minivan." That wasn't a joke. That's how Niang described the backlash to his arrival in Boston, a trade that saw him land in Massachusetts as part of a salary dump that shipped out Kristaps Porzingis. It didn't matter that Niang was born in Lawrence or that he grew up idolizing this franchise. Celtics fans don't care about fairy tales, they care about banners, and Niang knows it. This is where things get interesting, because while social media was busy trashing the deal, most fans missed a number that changes everything. Since 2020, George's Niang has more wins than any player in the NBA. More than Giannis, more than LeBron, more than Jason Tatum himself. 277 wins, and you still think he's just a minivan. Niang may not be flashy, but he plays winning basketball. He spaces the floor with an elite 40.6% clip from deep, defends multiple positions, and does the dirty work without ever needing the spotlight. He's a system player in a system that demands sacrifice, toughness, and efficiency. That's not hype. That's exactly what the Celtics are built on. Still, the stigma lingers. Part of it traces back to 2023, when Niang then, wearing a Sixers jersey, grabbed Jaylen Brown's leg during a playoff scuffle. The fanbase never forgot. But here's what they didn't see coming. Brown and Niang were recently spotted hanging out at a WNBA game. Not as rivals, but as teammates. Bridges are being built. And here's the wildest part. With Tatum's Achilles injury potentially keeping him out for the season, the Celtics will need someone to step up in the margins. Not the next superstar, but the next man up. Niang isn't asking for forgiveness or cheers. He's asking a different question. How can I dial it all in? My shooting, my leadership, my experience, and help this team win every single day. He's not trying to replace KP, he's trying to outlast him. And if history says anything, George's Niang might already be the most underrated X factor in the Celtics title chase. The fans may not have chosen him, but if he delivers, they'll never forget him. Celtics, circling one of the NBA's most polarizing talents, and it might happen sooner than you think. The Boston Celtics could be on the brink of one of the most unexpected gambles in recent franchise history, and almost no one's talking about it loud enough. While other teams made early power moves in free agency, Boston has been uncharacteristically quiet. But that silence may be hiding a calculated risk, one that involves a name few ever expected to hear linked with this championship-caliber roster again. Ben Simmons. Yes, that Ben Simmons. The player once labeled a future face of the league, the same player who vanished from the postseason spotlight, whose name became synonymous with unrealized potential and public scrutiny. And now, he's reportedly narrowing down his next team, with the Celtics suddenly in the final mix. According to ESPN's Brian Windhorst, Simmons is expected to make a decision within days, and Boston is battling with the Kings, Suns, and Knicks to land him. But here's where things get truly intriguing. The Celtics aren't just filling a roster spot, they might be trying to unlock a completely different version of themselves. On paper, Simmons doesn't make sense. On the court, however, he might be the exact wild card the Celtics need. He's not just a 6 feet 10 inches playmaker with elite court vision and all-defensive team pedigree. He's a disruptive force when healthy, a transition weapon, and most importantly, a player with something to prove. After losing J.R. Holiday, Boston has a hole on the perimeter that can't be patched with just effort. They need someone who can switch across positions, take pressure off Derek White, and ignite offense without demanding shots. Simmons, for all his flaws, still fits that bill better than most names left in free agency. And here's the thing that no one wants to admit: if the Celtics manage to tap into even 70% of Simmons' former self, they won't just be plugging a gap. They'll be unlocking an X factor that opposing teams can't prepare for. Is it risky? Of course, but that's exactly why it's exciting. This isn't about what Simmons was. It's about what he could still become. And the fact that the Celtics of all teams are seriously considering this move should send a message. They're not just reloading, they're reimagining what's possible. The countdown has started. Why would the Celtics target Ben Simmons? The answer might be bigger than you think. Forget what you think you know about Ben Simmons. Erase the memes, the slander, and the endless debates. What if the version of Simmons we've all dismissed is exactly what the Celtics secretly need? Boston's financial situation is a straitjacket, their cap space barely breathing. Yet their roster is 1 or 2 moves away from ironclad dominance. And out of nowhere, Simmons' name enters the chat. Not as a headline grabber, not as a savior, but as a piece that could quietly complete the puzzle. The kind of move title teams make before anyone realizes how much it mattered. This isn't about throwing him in as a wing or trying to resurrect his past self. The real play here is bold and totally off-script center. Yes, center. Boston's thinnest position just happens to line up with Simmons' most underrated potential role. He's 6 feet 10, physical, and a historically elite defender with court vision most bigs could only dream of. This isn't small ball gimmickry. This is positional. REIMAGINATION. Look at Boston's depth chart right now, and you'll understand the urgency. Neemias Queta, Xavier Tillman Sr., Luka Garza, Amari Williams. Not one of them brings the versatility, defensive fluidity, and switchability that Simmons could provide. This is a team built around intelligence, ball movement, and defensive suffocation. Simmons, flaws and all, fits that DNA more than people are willing to admit. He averages over 6 rebounds per game despite being chronically misused. His IQ on the defensive end, still elite, his passing, still surgical, and his presence in the paint, a problem for opponents, even if he doesn't stretch the floor. You want cutting lanes for Tatum and Brown? Simmons can create them without even taking a shot. Yes, his offense has collapsed. Yes, his confidence has crumbled. But this isn't about giving him the keys. It's about giving him a lane, a very specific, structured, low-pressure role on a team that doesn't need him to be a star. That's exactly the type of environment where reclamation stories are born. The risk is low, the reward could be seismic. All it would take is waiving a non-guaranteed contract, and the Celtics, already a powerhouse, could suddenly find themselves with one of the most defensively flexible lineups in the league. So here's the real question. Do the Celtics believe in transformation? Because if they do, they might just see something in Simmons no one else does. And if they're right, they won't just have added a body in the paint. They might have just stolen a game changer in plain sight.